continued to tour relentlessly, and you know, we didn't see another album from them for a while until a few years ago. They released Torn Arteries, which I think is a really cool album title, and it has a connection with Ken Owen. And I believe this is maybe a band that he created prior to Carcass or something like that. And I thought the album artwork was pretty cool as well. And as far as, you know, the style and the sound, I think it's pretty close to Surgical Steel, especially in the production stuff. But I basically feel the same about Torn Arteries as I do Surgical Steel. They're decent albums, but you know, they're definitely not, you know, at the top of my list when it comes to Carcass albums. So anyway, this time I'll show what I have from my collection. So first thing I'm going to show is not music, but actually a Carcass back patch, which I think is pretty cool. Would look good on a jacket. I don't wear denim jackets anymore, so won't be using that on a jacket, but it's still cool to have, and you know, can be hung up or whatever. So I'm not going in any chronological order with album releases or anything, just showing whatever in no particular order. And here is Carcass Peel Sessions, which basically, if you don't know, there was a guy in England, John Peel, and he would, you know, basically invite these bands on his program, and they would play, you know, handful of tracks. So there's 4 tracks on this, all from Symphonies of Sickness. You know, the sound is okay. You know, it's just cool to have, I guess. Next is that compilation, Wake Up and Smell the Carcass, which is some extra songs that weren't on Swan Song, as well as the songs from the Tools of the Trade EP and the Heartwork EP, and some other, you know, I guess basically demo type versions of songs. And so it's a cool release to have if you're a Carcass fan. Next up is a Carcass tribute album called Requiems of Revulsion, put out by Death Vomit Records. And this one's actually pretty decent. You know, this compilation, I think nearly every band on here is known. Maybe there's a handful more grind type bands that aren't well known, but I was familiar with nearly every one on here. And, you know, there's some big names like Impaled, Exhumed, General Surgery, Pig Destroyer, Hemorrhage, Dead Infection. Anyway, like I said, a lot of well-known bands on this release, so not sure if it's difficult to obtain in 2024 or not, but if you're a Carcass fan, worth looking for it at least. Next up is Tools of the Trade, the 1992 EP, which, like I already mentioned, the track songs earlier, so, you know, these songs are also available on reissues and Necroticism, so at least the songs aren't hard to find. Next is the Heartwork EP, and this is the Japanese version that has the songs from the Heartwork EP as well as Tools of the Trade minus Incarnated Solvent Abuse. So in addition to the Wake Up and Smell the Carcass CD compilation, there's also the DVD, which has their music videos, including Keep on Rotting in the Free World from Swan Song, and the songs from Heartwork, which is the title track Heartwork, No Love Lost, and then also the Incarnated Solvent Abuse and Corporeal Jigsaw Quandary music videos are on here, as well as 2 live shows, one from 92, one from 89. Quality's, you know, so-so, but still cool to have if you're a Carcass fan. So next up, I have the first 5 releases from the band as digipacks with DVDs called The Pathologist's Report, which they released 5 of those, where the band basically talked about each album and stories around those albums. So it's very cool to have that, and, you know, have this cool cardboard case for it, and all the CDs with, like I said, DVD videos. So very cool to have this, and also find the original Reek of Putrefaction artwork on that digipack, which, you know, I like having that. So next up, the vinyls, and I'd shown this one before in an artwork video, Necroticism, Descanting the Insalubrious. Very cool cover, great songs on this one. like opening track Improvigation, Corporal Jigsaw Quandary, Incarnated Solvent Abuse. I also like the last track, Forensic Clinicism, Sanguine Article. Very cool song. Great album. Next, the Torn Arteries double vinyl. Like I said, this artwork is pretty decent as far as being original, and the album itself, like I said, it's a good album, but not at the top of my list as far as favorites go. Here we have the Despicable 10-inch EP, which has songs from the Torn Arteries session, and you know, not really essential in my opinion. Songs are okay. Here's a recent reissue of Reputrefaction. Like I said, pretty nasty grind release, worth picking up if you're a fan of the band and into that style. All right, from 1993, Carcass Heartwork, and one of my favorite albums from them. Like I said, the only song I don't really like is No Love Lost. Killer tracks on here like Embodiment, This Mortal Coil, Carnal Forge, the title track, Doctrinal Expletives, Arbeit macht Fleisch, just a killer melodic death metal album. Essential in my opinion. Next up, a 7-inch of Captive Bolt Pistol. This was the first song I heard from Surgical Steel, and I actually really do like that song, so I was, pretty excited for the album. As it turns out, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, but, it is still worth picking up if you're a fan of the band. Next up, from 2013, Surgical Steel. Pretty cool album cover, reminiscent of Tools of the Trade. And, I do, like I said, like Captive Bolt Pistol. Unfit for Human Consumption is a real good song. Like I said, it's a fine album. I'm not such a fan of the intro. Sounds too heavy metal. All right. Just a coincidence. I saved the best one for last, at least for me, and that's Symphonies of Sickness. Just an absolute nasty gore grind album, and killer songs like Reputrefaction, second track Exhumed to Consume, also like Crepitating Bowel Erosion and Epitheliological Necroticism, Swarming Vulgar Mass of Infected Virulency. Just absolutely killer. Another thing to mention is I believe Carcass were the first to name their guitar solos, at least in metal, extreme metal, as far as I know. So, and they gave them really nasty titles as well. So that was pretty cool. But here's that other artwork for the album, which I think is pretty sweet, in a gross way. And Jeff Walker basically cutting pictures out of, medical books and making these nasty collages like this, and Reputrefaction. So very cool. Excellent album. Must have. So basically that's it for me talking about Carcass, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.